a different model of the universe developed. So it took 1400 years. About 3 centuries ago, 2 gentlemen that you may have heard of, John Locke and Thomas Hobbes, came up with an equally outrageous understanding of what human beings may be. Right? So it was as outrageous as Aristotle was about the solar system. And 2 of the scariest words, borrowed from Latin, adopted by Locke, tabula rasa. Right? You may have heard of that. It means the empty slate. So the tabula rasa, meaning that human beings are empty. And they need to be filled from the outside. Right? Fast forward, many of their chamchas kept working on them. And it actually caught fire in 19th and early 20th century. And there were many other factors which were contributing to it, right? So it caught fire, what I call the unholy trinity of our understanding, and all of us practice it in one way or the other. There was this guy called John Watson, he was American, Columbia professor, nevertheless. Ivan Pavlov, he was a Bolshevik, and B.F. Skinner, a distinguished Harvard professor from my own alma mater. And these were formidable people, right? And they were no fools. But that's what they had to work with. You know, they were trapped in the geocentrism of psychology, maybe. So they came up with what is known as the behaviorist theory. All right. So the behaviorism essentially says that human beings are only driven by 2 objectives. They want to seek pleasure and they want to avoid pain. So if you increase the pleasure and threaten them with pain, they'll do anything. And the 3 species that they supposedly proved their hypothesis with, there was a dog, that was Pavlov's dog. There was a rat, you go. That was Columbia University guy, Watson. Because Harvard had more money, so they afforded a few pigeons for Skinner. So he had pigeons. Based on that, this entire theory of learning that we all practice, much like poor Ibn Shatir, the schooling came into being. Kids come in empty, you fill them with things. And you wave a carrot of grades and this and that. And then there is always that underlying threat of pain, whether it's failure or in good old days, they were actually literally pain. So we live in the Ibn Shatir era of thinking about education. While we have all these nice creativity and innovation and freedom and so on, we just cannot rid ourselves of behaviorism. So we just keep on adding it, right? So let's reform behaviorism. Let's throw some more money at it, right? Let's add terms like reflective practice to behaviorism. Let's call it innovative and creative behaviorism. Let's add some technology to behaviorism, right? But it remains, because so much investment of people who control almost everything has gone in it. 2 gentlemen from 2 sides of the Atlantic were particularly moved by this and moved by the seeming power of this. One, Adolf Hitler, in early 20th century, and one, Harold Laswell, on the other side, in America. So leading political scientist and communication theorist. The order of power depends on it. The nation state depends on it. the budgets depend on it, and our sanity as educators many times depend on it. Now you add the social order of mothers wanting to rid themselves of children as early as possible from homes, depend on it. Right? But that's all wrong. It's just complete falsehood. Human beings have nothing to do with anything the way we try to educate them. It's just proven wrong. I'm not going to go into those. Those are just completely. Behaviorism as an idea does not exist anymore. Just like geocentrism as an accepted idea does not exist anymore. But it gets to be practiced. Right? Because we like it. We like to feel that these are the true principal motivations. The greatest cognitive thinker of 20th century, who is now 90-year-old, Noam Chomsky, somebody asked him this question, that what is learning? So the keynote speaker actually raised a very important point about learning. And he said, I don't know. Human brain is the most complex system in the known universe. There is nothing which is more complex than that. And I'm not making a platitudinal statement. This is scientifically accepted. There is nothing, black holes and dark, all of those things. There's nothing which is more baffling than the human brain. It's the most complex biological system which exists. He says, however, one can speculate on 3 best and 3 worst conditions of learning. So what are the 3 worst conditions of learning? Let's start with the 3 best. That there should be a rich and complex environment. Rich meaning that there are interesting variations and things to do. It should be self-willed and curious. So the person who is in that environment, अपनी मर्जी से है, उसके जबरदस्ती नहीं है. And they have the freedom to explore it. Right? The opposite of that is that it's rigid and it's emotionally and intellectually vacuous. So there is no connection, there is no emotional connection between the members of community who are placed in that environment. It's passive. You get to sit around and somebody tells you what it is. And it is driven by the shallowest objective of immediate illusion of success and immediate illusion of reward. Now, almost every single school that I have visited in my life fits perfectly in the 3 worst. Right? And it's not only here. What is really frightening about it is that it's almost universal. It seems that we live under what I call in Arabic, because I started out with Ibn Shatta to impress you with my Arabic knowledge, is Tawheed Kazib. The worst form of shirk is not to make someone sharik of God, to actually think that there is another singularity that exists. There's one way of doing things. There's one way of learning, जो कि मुरवज्जा कानून है दुनिया के तमाम स्कूलों में. While we know, like Ibn Shatta, that that's nonsense. But just like him, perhaps we are not far enough away from the center of that nonsense. As I said, these are 20th century things. Right? So, my parting wish to you is to hopefully have a Nicholas Copernicus or a Galileo who may be budding, maybe in those children, maybe among you, to break away from it completely. It's a tall order because it's a Tawheed Kazib. it encompasses us. But what I heard about some respect, some compassion, some love, some freedom for children, I think that we are just at the cusp, just like Ibn Shatir was. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to our guest of honor, Mr. Amin Hashwani. Mr. Amin Hashwani is the founder of the Charter for Compassion Pakistan as a businessman and a social activist. He founded and continues to support various social initiatives in the field of education, health, youth development, culture, and peace. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. We're delighted to see you, and thank you for being here.
Good morning and start everyone. Let me start off with, as all of you know, Asia will be, this century will be of Asia. We had the Europeans, then we had the dominance of the Americans, and now it will be the Asian society that will be dominating, and this century will be of this. The first Asian tiger actually was Pakistan. And some of you know, we had a golden period in the 60s where we had a growth, where World Bank was quoting Pakistan as being the role model for other now Asian tigers to emulate. And what was so interesting about this was that, fine, you know, nations do progress and they do become now Asian tigers. What was significant was that in 1947, just 15 years before that, we were literally at sub-zero. We had nothing. We had no industry, no infrastructure, no financial institutions, no judiciary, no media, nothing. Right? And yet, within a span of 15 years, we were on our way to become the first Asian tiger. Today, if you see in contrast, we have everything, literally. The finances, the infrastructure, institutions, judiciary, parliament, everything we have, even technology we have here, we have education, universities, human resources, and yet we are failing miserably as a country, as a society, to really be on a path of sustainable progress. We are plagued with conflicts, violence, electricity shortages, water problems, you name it, and we've got them. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what is that we had in 1947 and which we have lost despite of gaining so much? And that is being a society, a compassionate society. World War II, if you see, Japan was completely destroyed. Emperor Hirohito gotten the best brains in Japan to come up with what exactly should we now focus upon, and they said we should focus on quality. And what was interesting was the recommendation that came through, how do we bring about quality production on a factory floor, was to go and make our housewives quality conscious. If you make a housewife quality conscious, automatically it will come onto our factory floors, and automatically Japan will be able to dominate globally in it. So I think it is very, very important that we need to be mindful that if you're looking for a Naya Pakistan, first let's look at it, the Purana Pakistan, which we had of 1947. Let's try and regain that, and therein will lie our answers to a lot of the questions which we are facing. How do we change the society? For me, the change starts from the womb of a mother. We like to think it to be a very peaceful place of a fetus floating. It's actually a very, very noisy place. You find mothers who drink a lot of, for example, orange juice. When the child comes up, they have a particularly liking for orange juice, or for that matter, carrot juice. Or now they found that even the first cries of an infant have a peculiar accent. A French child will have a French accent in the cries. A German child will have a German accent in the cries. So it is very, very important for all you mothers to realize if you want a society, it starts from the womb, and we need to be very, very conscious of it. Let me talk about education. I'm not an educationist like our distinguished guest earlier, but for me, the education system that we are functioning under is a industrial age construct. We needed a lot of specialists for our factories, division of labor, specializations, bringing up efficiencies. So we created more and more specialists who learned more and more about less and less things. They became specialists. The problem with that is that we've passed the industrial age and now we're so-called information age. And when you become specialized, you put on the blinkers and then you lose the forest from the trees. The forest means that you see the full forest, so you get the full picture of the nature of the forest. If you just focus on the trees, you will not be able to see the full forest. So it is very important for us to keep the big picture in mind. And our emphasis on technicals. Technology itself might be good, but on technical learnings, I feel is an outdated model. By the time a child enters the university and graduates, most of the technical skills that they learn have become outdated. What is really, really important is for them to learn how to learn, because now learning is a lifelong exercise. It cannot be a one-off thing, degree milli, and we are kind of done with it. It was very interesting. A few weeks ago, I attended an internal auditors conference. And you can't get more geeks than that, than internal auditors. And they had a survey done where what were the skills that were needed to be a successful internal auditor. And what the survey found was 85% were soft skills that were needed, and only 15% were the technical skills that were needed to determine if an auditor will be successful or not. And that is pretty telling, this thing. So again, our emphasis should be about liberal arts, and it should be about cross-learnings. You look at technology we're talking about, one thing that is doing is that it has flattened the authority. Today, the grandchildren are teaching the grandparents about technologies. So that pehle hota tha, whatever comes from the top was gospel and we had to follow the orders, that is actually gone. So we actually now have a cross-learning, which is a very, very interesting thing. You spoke about brain being the most complex one. We have about 100 billion neurons in our brains, and each neuron has a connection of 10,000. So you can do the maths of 100 billion times 10,000. And even this learning which we talk about, teaching our children and they should learn, I think we as parents also need to learn. The neuroplasticity of our brains, it's constantly, even if you're 70, 80, you can pick up a new instrument and you can actually start to practice, and new neurons will start to develop within your brain. So please don't focus when you talk about learning on only the children. Please look at ourselves as well, no matter whatever age we are. We so-called in this information age which we are, technically or theoretically, it's supposed to make us all so-called quote-unquote informed. But if you see, we are becoming more and more polarized. We're becoming more and more judgmental. You look at the US, for example, we just saw in the US elections, polarization, you look at the last 25 years, become much and more. You look at Europe, you have the ultra-rightist movements coming in, polarized societies. You look at Pakistan, you look at India, you look at the Middle East, which is tearing itself to pieces. We are becoming more and more polarized. That is because we're becoming more and more judgmental. We're passing judgments on everybody, and we feel this sense of self-righteousness. And Donald Trump epitomizes such mindset. And believe me, he's not the only one. There is a mini Donald Trump in almost all of us. So we need to be mindful of that let's not be too judgmental. Einstein once said that imagination is much more important than knowledge. we need to imagine. And for example, we say that हमारे बच्चे आजकल किताबें नहीं पढ़ते हैं, story books नहीं पढ़ते, they are on video games and watching movies. What it's really doing is when you're reading literature, first of all, you go into the steps, into the feet of, into the shoes of someone else's. So the sense of empathy comes in through literature, and that is a skill which we need to inculcate in our children. Another thing is, when you're reading the books, it is just black and white plots. It is your brain that is doing the entire imagination. Right? So if you're just watching a movie, it's a no-brainer. You're just watching a lot of violence, special effects. So your brain is being stimulated without any effort in itself. So our children are actually losing that capability of not just handwriting skills, but also the skills to imagination. If we cannot imagine, we will not be able to empathize. If you cannot empathize, you lose your capacity of empathy. You cannot have a vibrant society. If you cannot have a vibrant society, you cannot have a so-called Naya Pakistan, whatever we like talk about. When you talk about education, it has to be education with a purpose. You cannot have, ABC seek or the mathematics seek or grades. It has to be with purpose. And I really don't blame the children, I blame the parents. Absolutely, I am including myself. We're so driven with grades, etc., that we are really losing. Okay, then winning the battle but losing the war. Look at Finland. There was a little mini clip I saw on Finland. They have one of the best education systems in the world, where Michael Moore, he did this documentary. He goes into schools and he asks, what do you do? They said, we give no homework, period. There is no homework. In the primary school, they don't even have any exams for children. Now I was reading Finland is further evolving. They're finishing up with these subjects called chemistry, maths, all of these special subjects. They want to know what is a child's interest. If I'm interested in astronomy, I want to study astronomy. Right? Some people are fascinated with something else, aeronauticals, for example. Right? And through astronomy, they will teach chemistry, or be it chemistry of a star. They will teach physics, what are the gravity and the forces that are dominating, and through those. So it is very interest-driven of a child rather than a top-down approach. This top-down approach of education is an industrial age construct. It worked very well for us during that time. Now it is irrelevant, and it is about time we need to move on. And what is happening is we are making our children super stressed. They are losing their childhood. मुझे याद है बचपन में I used to actually have fun. I don't see that in our children having fun. It's too stressed out or become junkies on screens, right? It's either super stressed or becoming junkies. These are having serious psychological issues with our children. And this grand experiment, this human experiment which we're going through, it's untested. We do not know the long-term implication, the emotional baggages with our children that will be carrying. I was reading a survey. 30% of the youth in the West have at some point contemplated committing suicide. This is serious stuff that is actually going on, and it's all about these helicopter parents or this extreme stress of getting grades, again going to good university, and in the process we are losing the sense of happiness, of being in the moment, of just taking a deep breath, appreciating these small things in life. We are absolutely losing that. And again, I'm saying we as parents have to take that blame. I understand the compulsions of the society, all of that is, but we need to step back, take a deep breath, and including the schools. Look at the education system which we are bringing in. Why should it be so grade-centric? Why should it be so competitive? What are we producing? What kind of human beings are we really producing? For me, looking back, I conclude, I went to college, and I consider myself to be a businessman. And when I look back, what really benefited me was I took, for example, psychology. that really helped me, because it helps me to understand the psyche during a negotiation or during handling my staff employees. What is the human psychology, right? So that really helps me. Sociology, that helps me to appreciate how a society will behave, or how a consumer will, for example, behave. Astronomy, when I have challenging moments, I can take the big picture of the entire universe and understand that how insignificant I am in the entire universe, or for that matter, the problem that I am facing, I can contextualize it in a split of a second, so I do not get stressed out. Philosophy, finding your purpose in life. Our society is so driven by finding happiness. Happiness is just a fleeting feeling. What you really need is to find a purpose in life. A soldier that goes onto a battlefield to die does not go to find happiness, or the mother that is sending her son onto the battlefield knowing that he might die and become a shaheed is not sending her son to seek happiness. It is to fulfill your purpose in life. And to our children, we need to inculcate to find our purpose in life. Each and every one of us are unique individuals. There will not be another human being like you before or after. And in this moment, each one of us is unique in our purposes. And it is important, you as parents, to help your child to find your purpose in life. Someone wants to be an artist, somebody wants to be a sociologist, somebody wants to be a businessman, somebody wants to help out somebody, and that's fine. We should not put कि अब आपको इंजीनियर बनना है, या देखो so and so आपके बड़े भाई ने तो बहुत ज़बरदस्त काम किया था, and you have to do this thing. You start creating these expectations, and with that comes stresses. And when you create stresses, you create emotional baggages, and you stop making that child into a full-fledged, holistic human beings. And I think for us, this is very important. And again, these are all societal compulsions. कि भाई बेटे को अगर B grade मिला है और नेबर के बच्चे को अगर A grade मिला है, तो आपने दो उठा के उस बच्चे को मारना. However, if neighbor's child gets a C grade, हमारा दिल थोड़ा हल्का होगा. चलो ठीक है, B grade मिला है. This is all competitiveness. It's all competitive. We need to inculcate, beta, aapko B mila, that's good enough. As long as you tried your best, as long as you enjoyed the experience, that is far more important. So with that, I just conclude that two of the initiatives, one is Charter for Compassion, that's exactly what we do. We work in schools, we inculcate about mindfulness, compassion, courage, all these soft skills into it. And what we find is, if you can make your child into a much more evolved human being, automatic grades start to improve. That the grades become a byproduct automatically. Another one is in Karachi, where again we are trying to bring about social change within the city. Look at the 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock discussion. Such rubbish we are talking about, right? The Prime Minister ne ye kiya, to ye ho gaya, so and so said this, and they are at each other's throats. How many times have you found in these talk shows any learnings? Any of the participants say, "भैया आपने तो बहुत ज़बरदस्त बात की, मैंने तो सोचा ही नहीं था." You are absolutely right. No, we are there like lawyers, fighting like cats and dogs on this thing that I'm right and you're wrong, and my party is right and my leader is right and you people are wrong. This is how the kind of culture we are inculcating within our society. Is this what kind of a Pakistan are we looking at, where we are at each other's throats? No, right? And our children, again, they are our futures of Pakistan. So we need to, aapka ghar ka jo mahol hai, we need to change that. Remember, we as parents are the role models of our children. They might like some superstar of Bollywood or Hollywood or some sports figure. They might listen, but the real models are we as parents. And we need to lead by example. And the values that we are going to inculcate in them will come through our own practices. I'm a cigarette pee raha hu, and I'm telling my child smoking is bad, the child will end up becoming a smoker when they grow up. So with that, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be conducting conducting the panel discussion. I believe it is the most awaited segment. Surely all of you must be aware of the topic by now: content versus design, developing 21st century skills. First of all, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Abbas Hussain, who is the moderator of the panel discussion. Mr. Abbas Hussain is a recognized, dedicated teacher, trainer, and educator. He has received his education and training from the universities of Karachi, Manchester, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Louisville, and Chicago. As Director of Teachers Development Center since 1997, he has conducted numerous workshops and training seminars on cutting-edge themes in education. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause for Mr. Abbas Hussain. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Syed Irfan Haider, who has a wide experience in academic leadership, consultancy, entrepreneurial ventures, trainings, research, and in the design and implementation of innovative programs, and as a motivational speaker. He is currently Dean CBM and CES of IOBM. Dr. Irfan Haider did his MS and PhD from University of Texas at Austin. He has also done his BE from NED Karachi and MBA from IBA Karachi. Sir, if you could do the honors of coming on stage. All right, I believe. Please welcome Ms. Romana Hussain, who has written and illustrated over 60 children's books and developed numerous teachers' manuals for several publishers, including the Oxford University Press. She co-founded the book group in 1988 and worked for it in a voluntary capacity for almost a decade. She was also the founding member and member executive committee of the I Am Karachi Society, championing one of its co-projects, the wall paintings in the city. Next, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Khalid Anam. He is a popular Pakistani TV artist as well as a musician and singer. Khalid Anam rose to fame with Tira Ho, a singer he wrote for the popular drama of the 1990s, Mystery Theatre, and composes songs for children as well. He is a popular actor and has acted in several Pakistani drama serials. Currently, he is the head of Mass Communications and Media Studies of Greenwich University of Karachi and Mauritius. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Salman Asif Siddiqui, who is the founder and director of Educational Resource Development Center, ERDC, an institute of training and material development in Pakistan, a staunch critic of contemporary education system, and an articulate advocate of natural learning. He has a dream to turn every school and home into a learning club where children could be trusted, owned, and accepted unconditionally. Salman Asif Siddiqui has written a number of children's books and teachers' courses to his credit as author and editor. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again invite Professor Dr. Syed Irfan Haider, who has a wide experience in academic leadership, consultancy, entrepreneurial ventures, trainings, research, and in the design and implementation of innovative programs, and as a motivational speaker. He is currently Dean CBM and CES of IOBM. Dr. Irfan Haider did his MS and PhD from University of Texas at Austin. He has also done his BE from NED Karachi and MBA from IBA Karachi. Welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. Audrey D'Souza Jumma, who is director at Notre Dame Institute of Education. Her doctorate is in the area of early childhood, gender, and teacher education. She has worked as a faculty member and coordinator of early childhood programs at the Institute for Educational Development, the Al Khan University. She has held a position as honorary fellow at the Youth Research Centre at University of Melbourne and has been a member of the advisory committee for the review of the Pakistan National Curriculum for Early Childhood and the Provincial Curriculum for Social Studies. Welcome, ma'am. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Zainab Muhammad Ahmed, who is an author of children's books, a storyteller, and a journalist. She spends her time teaching language arts and creative writing to primary and middle school students, as well as supporting the efforts of her team at Wonder Tree to develop augmented reality educational tools for children with special needs. Last but not least, I would like Mr. Buhir Tiza to join the panelists. I'd like to invite Ms. Saima Hussain, Early Years Educational Technology Coordinator at the City School, to share the abstract of the panel discussion.
Assalamu alaikum everyone here. With an aim to make our children thought leaders of tomorrow, the stakeholders are here on this platform, taking on to what Mr. Wasif Rizvi and Mr. Amin Hashwani have just mentioned about why education and how education. So the renowned leaders of their field are gathered here as panelists to talk about why and how of developing 21st century skills. Let's see what 21st skills really are.